Stop trying to get revenge. Your instincts are lying to you. Every part of you wants to fight, to scream, to force the scales of justice back into balance. You think karma is a debt that you must personally collect, but the universe doesn't reward the loud, it rewards the still. And true power is the payment you receive for mastering the art of doing nothing at all. You are here because a debt is owed, not of money, but of the soul. You were wronged, and the silence that followed is deafening you. Space filled with replayed arguments, and the ghost of a person who chose to make you feel worthless. That burning need you feel for fairness isn't a flaw. It's the cry of a spirit that knows its own value, even when someone else failed to see it. The great Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, Seneca, the strategist, Epictetus, the slave who became a master of the mind, knew this feeling intimately. They lived in a world of betrayal and sudden loss, and they perfected the art of turning this very pain into untouchable power. They taught that the greatest moves are made in stillness, that the most powerful force you can deploy is your own non-reaction. This journey isn't about wishing them ill. It's about learning the profound mechanics of consequence. It's about understanding that the moment you step out of their drama, you unleash a quieter, more certain form of justice, one that works silently, inevitably, and entirely on your behalf. The reward you seek is already in motion, not because of what you are about to do, but precisely because of what you are about to stop doing. It's the fire in your throat, the immediate, gut-wrenching need to make them understand. After the betrayal, after the ghosting, after they walked away with a casual cruelty that shattered you, the first instinct is to speak, to write the long text message, pouring out every ounce of pain, every detail of their crime, meticulously laying out the evidence of your hurt as if you were a lawyer, pleading a case to a jury of one. You believe if you could just find the right words, the perfect combination of logic and emotion, a key would turn, a light would switch on behind their eyes. They would finally see, they would finally say, "You were right, I am sorry." And so you try, you explain, you argue, you beg, not for them to come back, but just for the decency of an acknowledgement. And what do you get in return? Silence, defensiveness, or worse, they twist your words, making your pain a proof of your weakness, your pleading a justification for their departure. Every word you offer them is a weapon they use against you. Every explanation you give is another piece of your power you hand over, free of charge. You are pouring your lifeblood onto the ground, and they are not even bothering to look down. This is the moment of your first great choice. The world tells you to fight, to scream louder, to demand justice. But the Stoics knew something different. Epictetus, a man who had his body owned by another but never his mind, taught a principle that changes the entire game. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. You cannot control their hearing. You cannot control their empathy. You cannot force them to see the truth. Any attempt to do so is, in the Stoic sense, a form of insanity, a battle against reality itself. The only thing you control is your own voice, and you can choose to make it go silent. This is not a retreat. It is not surrender. It is a tactical masterstroke. The moment you choose purposeful non-engagement, you change the physics of the entire situation. Think of it as an echo chamber. While You were talking, explaining, and pleading. You were the noise in the room. You were the distraction. Your emotions, your words, your presence, it all gave them something to focus on, something to react to, something to blame. You were the reason they could avoid looking at themselves. But when you go silent, a vacuum is created. The noise stops. The distraction is gone. And into that vast, empty space, only one thing can rush in, the echo of their own actions. For the first time, there is no one to argue with. There is no one to blame. There is no dramatic text to show their friends as proof of your instability. There is only the memory of what they did, what they said, how they left. Your silence doesn't give them answers. It doesn't give them a fight. It gives them a mirror, and it forces them to sit in a room alone with their own conscience. At first, they won't understand it. They will feel your absence as a quiet confusion. Why aren't they trying anymore? They might even feel a flicker of victory, thinking they have finally won. But silence has a weight. It grows heavier over time. Days turn into weeks. The silence is no longer a pause. It's a statement. It's a boundary made of air and dignity. They will start to replay the last conversation, but this time, without your voice to interrupt their own. They will hear the cruelty in their words more clearly. They will remember the look on your face, and there will be no new argument to distract them from it. This is the karma of the echo chamber. You don't have to lift a finger. You simply have to hold your peace. You have to honor your own pain by refusing to cheapen it with more fruitless explanations. You become the one whose silence is a deafening question they can never escape. What kind of person does that? The power shifts slowly at first, and then all at once. You are no longer the desperate one seeking closure. You are the dignified one who possesses a quiet that they find deeply, profoundly unsettling. You are no longer begging to be understood. What happens when they realize the only person they have to answer to now is themselves? There is a unique kind of torture in the modern world. It is the agony of watching the person who broke you seemingly thrive. You are left in the rubble of what they destroyed, trying to remember how to breathe, and they are on your screen, smiling. They are posting pictures from a vacation. They are announcing a new job, a new relationship, a new life. The world appears to be rewarding them for their cruelty. Every filtered photo, every cheerful status update feels like another grain of salt being ground into your wound. A voice in your head screams, "How is this fair?" It feels like a cosmic error, like they got away with emotional murder and are now being celebrated for it. The injustice is so sharp, so visceral, it threatens to consume you. You start watching obsessively. You look for cracks in their perfect facade, for any sign that the universe has noticed that a bill is coming due. This is where the wisdom of Seneca pulls you back from the brink. He, a man who navigated the treacherous courts of the emperor Nero, knew more than anyone that what appears successful on the surface is often rotting from within. He wrote, "It is a great man that can hold his own in prosperity, but most people cannot. Their character is not strong enough to withstand the corrosion of unearned ease." He understood a fundamental law of nature, a life built on shortcuts, on deceit, on a lack of integrity, is inherently unstable. The metaphor is not a lightning bolt of cosmic revenge. It is something far more patient and far more certain. It is a house built on sand. From a distance, their house looks magnificent. It has fresh paint, the garden is manicured. It looks strong, permanent, enviable. It looks just like all the other houses built on solid ground. Your house, the one you are now painstakingly rebuilding on the bedrock of your pain and resilience, might look humble in comparison, but you know what it's made of. You know the foundation. You know their character is the sand, shifting, unreliable, and incapable of bearing true weight. So you stop watching for the storm. You stop praying for a hurricane to come and level their home. The Stoic power move is realizing you don't need a storm. All you need is the tide, the slow, inevitable, rhythmic tide of everyday life. The tide is a difficult quarter at work. The tide is a friendship that demands real loyalty. The tide is a moment of loneliness in the middle of the night when there are no cameras to perform for. The tide is the simple, unrelenting pressure of being alone with yourself. For a house built on rock, the tide is nothing. It washes against the foundation and recedes. But for a house built on sand, every wave, no matter how small, erodes something vital. The foundation begins to soften. Cracks appear, not from a single traumatic event, but from 1,000 small pressures. The person who lacks integrity will eventually find themselves in a situation where integrity is the only thing that can save them. The person who runs from emotional depth will eventually find themselves in a relationship that starves for it. The person who builds their self-worth on external validation will eventually face a moment of failure, and the applause will stop. Your job is not to be the wave. Your job is to stop watching the shoreline. The power move is to turn your back to the ocean and begin cultivating your own garden. You pour your energy into your own foundation. You dig deep into the earth of your own character. You reinforce your own walls with the concrete of virtue, honesty, and self-respect. While they are busy patching the latest crack in their facade, you are building a fortress, an inner citadel, as Marcus Aurelius would say. The karmic reward here is not the joy of watching their house crumble. The reward is a deep, profound, and calming patience. It is the peace that comes from trusting a natural law. You don't need to see it happen. You just need to know that sand can never be rock. You detach from the outcome of their life because you are too busy with the architecture of your own. And one day, long after you've stopped looking, the tide will do its work. Their foundation will give way. Not because you wished for it, but because it was built on sand. And by then, your garden will be in full bloom, and you will be too. Busy enjoying its shade to even notice. The wreckage they left behind is not external. It's inside you. It is the chaos that rattles your nervous system at 3 a.m. It's the phantom vibration of a text message that never comes. It's the internal whirlwind of resentment, anxiety, and obsessive loops of what if and if only. You are a tempest of their making, and in the dark moments, a part of you wants them to feel it. You want to somehow transmit your inner turmoil into their mind, to make them feel just 1% of the anxiety you carry. If they could just understand the chaos, you think that would be justice, that this is the desire for emotional resonance. But you are trying to tune their instrument, when you should be tuning your own. The ultimate prize, the Stoics knew, is not their suffering. It is your own tranquility. The Greeks had a word for it, ataraxia, a state of serene calmness, free from disturbance. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, faced with war, plague, and betrayal, wrote constantly to himself about this. He didn't write about conquering his enemies. He wrote about conquering his own mind. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful or more free from interruption than your own soul, he reminded himself. Retreat to your inner citadel. This is your work now, not to project your chaos onto them, but to meticulously, deliberately build a citadel of peace inside yourself. And as you do this, something truly remarkable begins to happen. A strange and powerful karma unfolds. The metaphor is this: their life is a raging fire, and your life is becoming a still, deep lake. The fire is their existence. It feeds on external fuel, validation, drama, attention, distraction. It is loud, hot, and chaotic. It must always be moving, always consuming to stay alive. It is a life of frantic energy, chasing the next thrill, the next distraction from the emptiness at its core. Your work is to become a lake. At first, your surface is choppy, reflecting the storm they left you in. But with each act of self-care, each moment of quiet reflection, each time you choose not to react, the waters calm. You meditate, you walk in the woods, you read, you sit in silence. You stop feeding their fire with your energy. You focus only on the depth and stillness of your own being. Slowly, the ripples fade. The surface of the lake becomes glass. They, in their frantic, fiery world, will eventually glance over. It's inevitable. Out of curiosity, ego, or a moment of boredom, they will look back to see the wreckage they left behind. They expect to see you still flailing in the storm. They expect to see you in ashes. Instead, they see the lake. They see your stillness. They see your calm. They see a peace that they, in their world of constant noise, cannot comprehend. And on the perfect, glassy surface of your tranquility, they see a reflection. But it is not your reflection they see. It is their own. Your peace becomes an unsettling mirror. Staring back at them from the surface of your life is their own frantic chaos. Your silence reflects their noise. Your stability reflects their instability. Your growth reflects their stagnation. This is a karma more potent than any angry words. You don't have to say, "Look how much you hurt me." Your peace says, "Look how much you are hurting yourself." You don't have to scream. You are a chaotic mess. Your calm shows it to them in their own reflection. It maddens them on a subconscious level. Your refusal to be destroyed by them is a judgment on their character that they can never argue with. It proves that the problem was not you. The problem is the fire itself. The emotional payoff is one of the most profound on this journey. You realize that your inner state is the only scorecard that matters. Their chaos is their prison. Your peace is your kingdom. The power move is to make your tranquility the ultimate non-negotiable priority. You guard it fiercely. You cultivate it daily. Not to show them, not to prove a point, but because you have finally realized that a calm mind is the greatest reward the universe can offer. And it's a reward they can never, ever touch. There is a feeling of being frozen in amber. You are stuck at the exact moment of the betrayal, defined by the wound they inflicted. You feel like a secondary character in their story, the victim, the jilted one, the person who was left behind, while they move forward, creating new chapters. You are rereading the one where they wrote you out of the script. Their life seems to be expanding, while yours has shrunk to the size of your pain. The past is not in the past. It is your entire present, a heavy anchor holding you in place. This feeling of being stuck is one of the most insidious forms of suffering. It allows the person who hurt you to continue hurting you long after they are gone. They occupy your mind rent-free, dictating your emotional weather every single day. The Stoics had a radical antidote to this kind of paralysis. They saw every obstacle, every misfortune, every wound, not as an end, but as raw material. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The pain is not the path's end. The pain is the path. The wound they gave you is not a liability. It is fuel. It is the very thing that will launch you into a version of yourself they would not even recognize. This transformation is best understood through a powerful metaphor. You are not breaking out of a cage. You are outgrowing the cage. When they left, they put you in an invisible cage of their making. A cage of insecurity, of resentment, of feeling not good enough. For a while, this cage felt like your entire reality. Its bars were the limits of your world. You paced within it, rattling the bars, consumed by its confines. Many people spend their lives trying to break the bars of the cage. They fight the past. They wrestle with the memory of the person who built it. The Stoic path is different. You do not fight the cage. You ignore it. You turn your full, undivided attention to the one thing you control, your own growth. You take all the energy you were spending on them, the anger, the obsession, the grief, and you reinvest it into yourself, radically, completely. You use the pain as a catalyst. The disrespect they showed you becomes your motivation to respect yourself. The future they took from you becomes your motivation to build a new one, 10 times better. You learn that skill you always put off. You start that business. You get your body in the best shape of your life. You read the books. You take the trips. You heal your childhood traumas. You become a student of your own life, a scientist of your own soul. You are not doing it for them. You are not doing it to show them. You are doing it because the pain has woken you up, and a strange thing happens. As you grow, the cage stays the same size. You get stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more resilient. Your sense of self expands. Your world gets bigger. And the cage, that old hurt, that memory, that person begins to feel tight. Then it feels small. Then, one day, you look down and you realize the cage is no longer a prison. It's a flimsy piece of wire around your ankle. A piece of jewelry you forgot you were even wearing. You haven't broken it. You have simply become so much larger than it that it has lost all of its power. You have outgrown it. This is the karma they never see coming. They expect you to stay small. They expect you to remain the person they left. The emotional payoff is a feeling of profound elevation. It's a perspective shift. You look back at the person who hurt you, and they don't inspire anger anymore. They just seem distant, small, like a character from a book you read a long time ago. It's not arrogance, it's altitude. You are simply standing on a higher mountain, one you built for yourself out of the very rocks they threw at you. The power move is radical self-investment. You starve their memory of your attention, and you feast on your own potential. The karma isn't that they are punished. The karma is that you used the wound they gave you to become someone they are no longer qualified to know. What happens when they come looking for the person they left in that cage, and find only an empty space and the echo of someone who learned how to fly? This is the final thread, the last, most stubborn chain that keeps you tethered to the past. It is the secret hope that they will come back, not because you want them, but because you want the apology. You fantasize about the text, message, the phone call, the knock on the door, the moment where they, with tears in their eyes, finally admit their mistake and acknowledge the pain they caused. This desire for validation is a powerful poison. It feels like a craving for justice, but it is actually a form of self-imprisonment. It makes you a waiter, a watcher. It puts the key to your emotional freedom in the pocket of the very person who locked you up. You are granting them the ultimate power, the power to grant you peace, and they will never use it. To sever this final thread requires the most advanced and difficult of the Stoic virtues, apatheia. This is not apathy. Apathy is numbness, a lack of feeling. Apatheia is a state of mind that is free from the disturbance of irrational passions. It is not about not feeling. It is about not being controlled by your feelings. It is the point where they're fat or bad, apologetic or arrogant genuinely no longer has the power to move the needle of your inner peace. The metaphor for this final liberation is simple, but it is everything. It is releasing a rope. For months, or maybe years, you have been locked in a silent tug-of-war. On one end of the rope is you, pulling with all your might, with your resentment, your memories, your hurt, your hope for an apology. On the other end is them, but they aren't even pulling. They dropped their end of the rope a long time ago. You are in a battle with a ghost, pulling against a weight that exists only in your own mind. It is exhausting you. It is keeping you stuck in the same spot, your muscles straining, your focus fixed on nothing but the rope. The world tells you to pull harder, to find a way to make them pick up their end and acknowledge the fight. The Stoic way is to do the one thing you haven't considered. You just let go. You open your hand. The rope, thick with the tension of your own making, falls slack to the ground. There is no snap, no victory cry. There is only a sudden, shocking lightness in your arms. The war is over. Not because you won, but because you simply refused to fight anymore. This is true indifference. It is not a performance. It's not the cold shoulder you give someone to make a point. It is a genuine physiological state of neutrality. It's the moment you hear their name in conversation and your heart rate doesn't change. It's when you see a picture of them and you feel nothing, not anger, not sadness, not a flicker of satisfaction. It feels like looking at a picture of a stranger. This is the ultimate reward the universe gives you for your hard work. It gives you your own mind back, all the space they were occupying, all the energy they were consuming is returned to you 1,000-fold. You are no longer watching their life or waiting for an event. Your attention is fully, completely, gloriously your own. Their karma is their business. Whether they find happiness or misery is as relevant to you as the weather in a distant country. You don't wish them well, and you don't wish them ill. You simply don't wish for them at all. The power move is achieving this emotional completion. It is the final act of letting go of the rope, and in that release, you find the one thing you were seeking all along, the one thing they could never give you, true, unburdened, and absolute freedom in the beginning. All you wanted was for the scales to be balanced. You wanted the universe to deliver a consequence, a lesson, a piece of poetic justice that would make them feel the echo of the void they left in you. You stood in the ruins, thinking the only way to heal was to see them, brought to ruin, to dot. But the path of Stoic karma is a quiet, deceptive journey. It promises one thing, a kind of silent revenge, but it delivers something far more profound. It leads you away from them and toward yourself. The journey ends here, in this quiet place of strength. Look back at the path you walked, you mastered, the echo chamber of your own silence, only to find it was your own peace you learned to listen to. You learned to trust the slow erosion of their house built on sand, only to realize your true focus was building your own fortress on unshakable rock. You turned yourself into a still, deep lake, hoping to mirror their chaos, only to fall in love with the profound beauty of your own tranquility. You outgrew the cage they built for you, not to prove how small they were, but to discover how magnificent you could become. And finally, you released the rope, thinking it would make them fall, only to find it was you who was finally free to walk away. Each step was a reward. Each stage delivered a karma that had nothing to do with them and everything to do with your own liberation. The great Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, wrote this for himself, alone at night, on some distant battlefield. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. At first, those words feel hollow, unsatisfying, but now you understand their deep, earth-shattering power. To be unlike them is not just a moral victory, it is a strategic one. It is to be calm where they are chaotic, to be centered, they are scattered, to be resilient where they are fragile, to be at peace where they are at war with themselves. The ultimate karmic reward is not that they finally get what they deserve. It is that what they deserve has become utterly irrelevant. To you, that the revenge is that you no longer need any. The story is no longer about them. The story was never about them. The pain they inflicted was merely the catalyst for the real story to begin. And that story is yours. You are free, not because they apologized, not because they were punished, but because you, through your own quiet, dignified work, finally realized you were the one who held the key all along. The need for justice has dissolved, and in its place there is only peace, a peace you earned, a peace they can never touch. This video next to continue your journey.